Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Sayyid Raza Muhyiddin, member of the visiting faculty, Time Institute Multan for MPH classes. And this is the 10th lecture on health promotion, health communication, and health education. And today we will continue with the theories and models of health promotion. And the first is the diffusion of innovation theory. So the theory of innovation, diffusion of innovation theory, it is developed by E.M. Rogers, and it is an old theory of 1962 in one of the oldest social sciences theories. And it originated in communication to explain how over time an idea or product gains momentum and diffuses or spreads through a specific population or a social system. The end result of this diffusion is that people, as part of a social system, adopt a new idea, behavior, or product. So, as you've seen in your practice, adoption means that a person does something differently than what they has been doing previously. That is, purchase or use of a new product, acquire and perform a new behavior, etc. So the key to adoption is that the person must perceive the idea, behavior or product as new or innovate. It is through this that diffusion is possible. As you see the fashion changes, the people were using, there was a time when people were using, long collared shirts. Now there are small collared, then again long. This is all an idea, diffusion, a change. The fashion in everything, it starts and it goes upwards, then it declines. And sometimes it is modified, that is, fashion plus. And in the same manner, there are certain people who adopt the fashion early, who adopt an idea early, then the other peoples follow the one they have started, who leave that idea, and then they're adopted by the other people, and then the idea, that culture, that fashion, that fades off. So this is the innovation theory. And now you see, what is diffusion or innovation theory? It is the adoption of a new idea, behavior, or product, that is the innovation, does not happen simultaneously in a social system. That I told you, all the members of the social system doesn't adopt that idea or innovation at the same time. This is a process whereby some people are more apt to adopt the innovation than others. And the researchers have found that the people who adopt an innovation early have different characteristics than the people who adopt an innovation later. And then promoting an innovation to target population, and the target population, it is important to understand the characteristics of the target population that will help or hinder adoption of the information. So in a health promotion or in a health communication, your audience are very important. The selection of the audience, and here in the information, the selection of your customers, you can say, are the population you are addressing is very important. So there are 5 established adopter categories, and while the majority of the general population tends to fall in the middle categories, most of the people, they lie in the middle. They just adopt it, not too early, not too late, just they are in the middle. And while promoting an innovation, there are different strategies used to appeal to different adopter categories. So different weapons are to be used for different categories of people. Now, what are that five established adopter categories? The first category is the innovators. These are the one people who want to be the first to try the innovation. So these are, in people who are interested in new ideas. These people are very willing to take risk and often the first to develop the ideas. So you have seen there are certain people who start some fashion or start some culture very early. So sometimes they have to, face some difficulties or criticism, but they are the innovators. So if anything needs to be done to appeal to this population, the one has to select that target population. Then there are the early adopters. These are the people who represent opinion leaders. They enjoy leadership rules and embrace change opportunities. They are already aware to the need of change and so are very comfortable adopting new ideas. So the strategies to appeal this population include how to the information sheets are on implementation. So that's why when providing the advertisements, you see the celebrities are being used. So people who love those celebrities or follow those celebrities, they adopt that change. So they do not need information to convince them to change. So they have also the mind, but not like innovators, but they are early adopters. Then is the early majority, the third category. These people are rarely leaders, but they do adopt new ideas before the average person. So they typically need to see evidence that the innovation works before they are willing to adopt it. And then, of course, the strategies to appeal this population include success stories and evidence of the innovations effectiveness. So you have to give some evidence, or you have to, just give them some examples to take this idea. Then there is a late majority. These peoples are skeptical of change, and will only adopt an innovation after it has been tried by the majority. And those strategies to appeal this population include information on how many other people have tried the innovation and have adopted it successfully. Then the last one are laggards. Laggards are the one who get the information late and they are the last one to appeal. When the other peoples have stopped that strategy, they started. So the peoples are bound by tradition and very conservative. They are very skeptical of change and are hardest group to bring on board. So strategies to appeal to this population include statistics and fear appeals and pressure from people in other adopter groups. So you have seen the polio campaign. There are still after that long campaign there are certain groups present which are against the polio drop campaigns. So these are the laggards. Then if you see the frequency or the number of these established adopter categories, as the researchers say, 2.5% people are innovators, 13.5% are early adopters, 34% are early majority, same 34% are late majority, and laggards are 16%. So innovators are, the least. Then what are the factors that influence adoption of an innovation? So the stages by which a person adopts an adoption and the diffusion is accomplished, this include the awareness of the need of an innovation, decision to adopt or reject. You can make both decisions. Then is the initial use of the innovation to test it, and then continued use of the innovation. So there are five main factors that influence adoption and innovation, and all these factors play to different extents in five adopter categories. First is the relative advantage, the degree to which an innovation is seen as better than the idea, program, or product it replaces. Then is the compatibility, how you think that it is consistent with the innovation, with the values, experiences, and needs of the potential adopters. And then is the complexity, how difficult the innovation is to understand and by use. Then is the triability, the extent to which the innovation can be tested and experimented with before a commitment to adoption is made. And then is the observability, the extent to which the innovation provides tangible results. Then there are the limitations of diffusion of innovation theory, and there are several limitations. There are much of the evidence for theory, including the adopter categories. They did not originate in public health, and it was not developed to explicitly apply to adoption of new behaviors of health innovators. And then there is participatory approach to adoption of a public health program, and it works better than adoption of behavior rather than cessation of prevention. And it does not take into account an individual's resources or social support to adopt the new behavior or innovation. So this theory has been used successfully in many fields, including communication, agriculture, public health, criminal justice, social work, and marketing in public health. So it is used to accelerate the adoption of important public health programs that typically aim to change the behavior of a social system. For example, an intervention to address a public health problem is developed, and the intervention is promoted to people in social system with the goal of adoption. So the most successful adoption of a public health program results from understanding the target population and the factors influencing their rate of adoption. So as I've told you that this diffusion of information is a research model, and that describes and how a new idea, product, or positive health behavior spreads through a community and social structures. So the model identifies several factors that influence how quickly an idea of behavior is adopted. Now you see what are some innovations in healthcare. These are, IoTs, electronic health records, remote care centers, then the 3D printing, LASIK, this LASIK eye surgery. Then there are retail clinics, augmented reality, precision medicine. These are all the examples of innovation, a diffusion of innovation in healthcare. Then it's it is not itself a new concept. This includes new or improved health policies. So system products and technology services and delivery methods that results in improved healthcare. So it is not a new concept. This includes, it's a new and improved health policies and practices. So there are some, healthcare provider organizations which, are the examples of the healthcare innovation processes. So next is there is another this we will study the health communication and evaluating health promotion programs. So we will see what are the steps of a comprehensive health communication campaign. So these are 12 steps. The first step is get started. We start a communication campaign. Then second step is we revisit our health promotion strategy. The third step is we analyze and segment audience. As you see, analyze and segment audience, I've already told you, we have to, in health promotion campaign, we have to analyze and segment the audience. We have to see which audience or which target population will be able to understand our communication. And then is develop an inventory of communication resources. We have to see what resources we have, and we have to develop the inventory or the list of that resources. Then we have to, in the fifth step, we have to set communication objectives. We have to see what are our objectives of communication, what we want to get out of our communication, of our message. And then sixth is select vehicles and channels. So it is very important which transport or which method of conveyance we will use, and what will be the type of our communication channel. Whether it will be, interpersonal, face to face, or some telephonic, or for mass communication, we have mass communication channels. Whether we will use a megaphone or a loudspeaker of a mosque, or we will take the aid of TV or cable ad or something like that. So this will depend on our objective and the target audience. And then is in the step 7, we combine and sequence communication activities. So when we will combine and we will make a list and whatever to do first, whatever then, and whatever then. So that will become the sequence. And then in the 8th step, we have to develop the message strategy. What will be our strategy? What the message we want to give, what will be the wording, and what effect we can get. Then in the 9th step is to develop a project identity. So we will name some product and then project, and then we will develop its identity. Then 10th step is develop materials. What materials we have got, so we will analyze that. Then we will implement, in the 11th step, we will implement our campaign. We will start doing this. And in the 12th step is we will complete our campaign evaluation. So these are the steps of comprehensive health communication campaign. Now the importance is what are the core skills for monitoring and evaluation of health promotion programs. So it is very important when you start some program, you are making some campaign. So for the monitoring and evaluation, you must have certain skills for evaluation and monitoring. And that's otherwise, when you don't know how to evaluate or how to monitor, so it is no use to do it. So that skills are, the first one is social science research skills. We must having how to do a social science research, a social science monitoring or evaluation skill, and it is different from other monitoring and evaluation skills. Then are the data analysis. We must know how we have to gather the data, how we will analyze it, and how we will get inference. And then are the communication skills. We must know the communication skill, what message we have to give, and how to get feedback, what type of channel we will use, what type of audience we will have. These are the communication skill. Then the contextual knowledge. We must have the knowledge of the context we are delivering. And then is the data collection through technology. If you are collecting the data through some technology or with other, IT mayors or other mayors, so we must have knowledge of that technology. And then we have the skill and knowledge of multiple languages. We are working in a system like in our country, Pakistan, different languages are used in all the areas. In one area, the people they understand Saraiki, then they speak Urdu or Punjabi or Pashto. So the multiple language speaking or understanding skill is also essential. And then the most important is we have to hire a monitoring and evaluation consultant who will form all the monitoring and evaluation strategy. Then, what are the steps of an evaluation program? This program evaluation process goes through four phases. The first is planning. As already told you, we will make a plan of how to evaluate it. And then is the implement. We will start doing it, we will implement. Then is the completion. We will complete our evaluation, and then is dissemination and reporting. After completion of the program and after analysis, we make an evaluation report for which the evaluation has been done, and then we disseminate it to the corners concerned, to the higher authorities for the making of policy or for the change of policy or wherever we want to disseminate. And that complement the phases of program development and implementation. And each phase has unique issues, methods, and procedures. So all these are the, topics itself, and by this, the evaluation program is complete. Thank you very much.